What's up, everybody? This is Ghetto 187 for OneWrestling.com. Want to give a big thanks to Bill Apter and to Big Ray Hernandez for giving me this opportunity to become the new Impact Wrestling review show for you each and every week. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it with your friends and family. Don't forget to hit that bell icon for more notifications each and every time we upload a new video on this great channel. Don't forget to follow One Wrestling at One Wrestling on Twitter, and don't forget to follow me at Ghetto187 on Twitter. And let's go ahead and start off this Impact Wrestling review show in about 15 minutes or less. We start off with Alberto El Patron outside the Aberdeen Pavilion, saying how he's going to get his revenge on Eli Drake. He starts calling him a pedo this, pedo that. He's a pride of Mexico. You know, typical Alberto El Patron promo, which was funny because I could barely understand him. He was out of breath, and you know, with his thick accent, it's kind of hard to understand him already. I'm Mexican myself too, but it was just funny that I could barely understand the man. And then we'll go to like another video packages, several video packages, hyping up the rest of the show. One of them being Dan Lambert's debut match with Bobby Lashley from America's Top Team going up against James Storm and Moose. And in this segment, he says that he's not a wrestler, he's not a fighter, but he knows everything and anything about mixed martial art and fighting, which is funny to me because he just said, Dan Lambert just said, I don't know nothing about fighting, but yet I'm a pro at fighting. So I found that pretty funny. And then we start getting like another video package hyping up, you know, the storyline that's going on with EC3 and Matt Sydal, and then again accumulating to another storyline that's very prolific, which is Alberto El Patron, Johnny Impact, and Eli Drake. So we start off with our first match, which was Caleb Conley with Trevor Lee in a one-on-one match against Taiji Ishimori, and it's Caleb Conley and Taiji Ishimori, and it's a great start to the match. There's a lot of holds, a lot of takedowns, and a lot of ground-based moves, which I do like. Ishimori takes control of the match early on, and the best move of the match is when Caleb Conley picks up Ishimori by the feet, and he gets him in like a torture rack position, and Caleb Conley pretty much face drops Ishimori, and he kind of like does like a rollover move, and he does a submission hold where he's grabbing him by the wrist and he's stretching him out. Look very painful, and is very cool new move that I've never seen before. Let's fast forward to the end of the match. After he breaks away from that, Ishimori gains control again of the matchup, and he hits a 450 splash for the pinfall victory. And like typical heel fashion, Trevor Lee comes into the ring, and he starts, you know, wailing at him. And then from the back, out comes Desmond Xavier. Desmond Xavier starts running into the ring, breaking up the actual brawl. And what's interesting about this is that Trevor Lee's the X Division champion. All these guys are X Division contenders. And now what makes this more interesting is that Ishimori and Desmond Xavier were one of the last two final participants in the Super X Cup that we had earlier this summer. And of course, Desmond Xavier was the winner of that whole tournament. So I'm wondering if they are going to do a tag team match for the next week's taping. We will find out shortly. I'm going to try to skip over most of the talking segments that they did because it doesn't really pertain too much to the rest of the show. But I do feel like I do have to hype this because it is Dan Lambert's very first matchup. He's teaming up with Bobby Lashley, and he's going to take on Moose and James Storm. One thing I do want to get into it after that brief little segment, hyping up the match, I do want to talk about Impact Wrestling and how they need to get away from Pop TV. The reason why I'm saying this is because if you look at the commercials during the rest of the broadcast, I did not like that the commercials were not targeted towards wrestling fans. You know, if I'm a wrestling fan like I am, I'm not going to stick around to watch Pop TV. Their programming does not interest me whatsoever. It's for millennials. It's for chicks. It's for people who like these type of movies and these type of shows with like fashion models and stuff like that. That's not me. That's not the typical wrestling fan. So I'm not into it. I wish them success. I want Impact Wrestling to be on TV, but I do not like the direction that Pop TV as a channel is going, and it completely does not go along with Impact Wrestling whatsoever, or any other company like Ring of Honor, or even New Japan, or even WWE. Maybe more WWE because, you know. Anyways, let's go to the second match, which is a knockouts match, which the winner of this match will face Laurel Van Ness. I can't even say her name. Laurel. Zach Radish chick, if you can call her that. So it's Sienna versus Rosemary versus Allie. Now let me tell you this: I'm a big fan of Rosemary, and if I wasn't married, I would definitely try to holler at Rosemary. My girl knows this. She knows if for some reason, God forbid, we break up, I'm gonna go with Rosemary. Okay, Rosemary, you know where to hit me up at Ghetto187. I am free. You can send me some DMs, send me some pictures, whatever you're into. I'm here. You like Latin lovers? I'm a great Latin lover. All right. Anyways, so one thing I do want to put out by this match, it was a great match. It did seem a little bit out of place because you got brawlers in Sienna and Rosemary. They're hardcore chicks. They're just tough girls. And then you see a delicate little flower of Allie. Now, the thing that Allie did show in this matchup, which I'm sure all of you guys who watched the show would agree, is that she was aggressive. There was a lot of parts in this match where she was striking, where she showed her teeth, she showed aggression, ruthless aggression. You know, sorry, I just came out with a little bit of Vince McMahon there. But for real, it was a great match. Now, the move that really got me into this match was when it was a double submission from Rosemary and Allie on Sienna. Now, Rosemary had the legs, Allie had the arms, and they were both doing a submission hold on Sienna. And Sienna had no choice but to just stay there. And I thought she was going to tap out. Now, the thing that ended up happening was that Rosemary ended up breaking up the hold. Now, she was elbowing in Allie, which broke up the hold, which didn't really do too much because, which ended up not doing enough because out comes Rosemary connecting with the Red Wedding on Allie for the pin, setting up a one-on-one match of Rosemary and Laurel Van Ness for the Knockouts title. Next, we see OVE and with Sami Callihan, obviously, in the ring, cutting a promo, dissing Canada, dissing LAX, dissing Mexico, dissing Lucha Libre, calling them all bullcrap. Sami Callihan then says they are going to do a rematch with LAX for the tag team titles, but it's going to be under their own terms, under their own conditions. And at the same time, you know, Sami Callihan is putting over the state of Ohio. And the thing is, I've been to Ohio once. It's not a great state. Nothing to be proud of. It's not like where I'm from. I'm from Los Angeles, California. Went to Compton High School. Now that's a thing you want to be proud of where you're from. While he's dissing everybody, I'll come to these local heroes, TDT, which they get a huge pop from the crowd. And they must be well known because I had no idea who these guys were, but they got a good reaction from the crowd whatsoever. Now, at the time that they're coming into approaching the ring, they start doing a promo in French. And Sami says, you're coming into our ring, you need to start speaking American. And a fight breaks out between them. And just as TDT was about to do a finishing maneuver, Sami Callihan comes into the ring and breaks it up with the Singapore cane. And OVE was going to do their finishing move, which is called the All CNI. When LAX's music comes out, they break up from their doing the potential finishing maneuver, and a huge brawl breaks out. OVE escapes with an almost Singapore headshot attempted by Conan to Sami Callihan, and while they're outside of the ring, Sami Callihan go ahead and spits on LAX. Very gross and nasty stuff. I'm telling you, nothing good happens out there in Ohio. Now, next thing we see this segment, which was KM trying to prove himself to America's Top Team. I'm not going to go into it too much because we go to another segment back with LAX talking about how they are going to destroy OVE, which it made no sense since we just saw what happened into the ring, and now we're going back into another segment featuring LAX. Poor decision on their end, in my opinion. So now they're hyping up the main event, which is Petey Williams and Johnny Impact versus Eli Drake and Chris Adonis. But before that, we actually see the Impact Grand Championship match, which is Matt Sydal versus EC3 with a special guest judge, which is Falaba. He comes out, and I'm not a big fan of this whole Impact Grand Championship title. I don't like the rules. I think it's slowing down the matches, and the outcomes always usually are about the same. So I'm just going to cut it short. Round 1 goes to EC3. Round 2 goes to Matt Sydal. Now, round 3 was 50-50, split down the middle. Okay, typical stuff again. That's why I don't like this match. These type of matches, they're very predictable. Now, Judge 1 scores it at 10-9 in favor of EC3. Judge number 2, again 10-9 in favor of Matt Sydal. Obviously, now this is where it gets interesting. Judge number 3, which happens to be Falabad, scores it as, for round 3, 10 out of 10, calling it a tie, a draw. So there's no clear definitive winner, and because Matt Sydal cannot win on a draw, EC3 retains the title. Now, that's one thing that I'm glad happened because it's different. But other than that, like, the matches do not interest me whatsoever. I'm sure other people will agree too. Now, one thing I am going to talk about this next segment is they're going to the vault, courtesy of the Global Wrestling Network, and it's a classic matchup from Bound for Glory when they were in the UK, and it's Bobby Roode versus James Storm, and instantly you get to see the glory days of TNA when they had thousands of fans from the UK with much more exciting community, much more ready crowd that was excited to see these matches, even way better commentary. I mean, no JB, no Josh. I mean, Josh is cool, JB's cool, but they're not Taz and Mike Tenay cool. I mean, these guys, when I started watching Impact Wrestling back in the day, these were one of my favorite commentators. I love Mike Tenay and Don West, but when Don West left, it was just Taz and Mike Tenay all day, baby. So now it was a great matchup. You know, it showed the rowdy crowd. It showed even like a little interference from King Mo in the match. It was a bloody, hardcore match. Type of stuff that I loved from Impact Wrestling back in the day. It does show James Storm super kicking Bobby Roode into some thumbtacks for the win. Funny enough, everybody involved in this match, down to the referee, down to the ring announcer, down to the commentators, no longer work for the company. That's right. Bobby Roode gone. James Storm is gone. Earl Hebner is gone. Chrissy Hemme is gone. Who else? Taz is gone. And Mike Tenay are gone. It's just funny that they showed how great the product was back in the day and how they're trying to make a new image, but you can't make a new brand image into the face of the casuals when you show them an awesome match from the glory days and it's not on par with the new product. I'm not saying the new wrestlers are not on par with the rest of it, but just the whole presentation looks so much better from back in the day. I'm just not going to lie. Next, we see another funny segment between Park and Park, Attorneys at Law, which is obviously Abyss, and All Eagle Ethan Page. Now, I loved it because it's a great throwback to the old school lawyer commercials that we all seen. Like, has this ever happened to you? Have you ever fallen? Have you ever had a broken heart? All of those things were funny. It was great. And then next, we see the debut match of Dan Lambert with Bobby Lashley versus Moose and James Storm. We start off with James Storm against Bobby Lashley, and then it kind of goes in while Bobby Lashley is doing most of the moves. We see Dan Lambert tag himself in and then tag himself back out when he was going for a pinfall attempt, and it happened once more. And then while we're back into the ring, keep in mind Bobby Lashley's dominating the match up for the good part of the match. And what happens next is, as he's preparing himself to do the spear onto Moose, Dan Lambert tags himself in. Bobby Lashley connects with the spear, and then from there we see Dan Lambert going for the pin for the 1, 2, and 3. But nonetheless, it was a great match. Finally, it's the main event of the evening: Petey Williams and Johnny Impact versus Eli Drake and Chris Adonis. A lot of back and forth in the matchup. Definitely match of the night. Definitely pay-per-view quality. All four of these gentlemen always put on a good show. Now, the thing was, Petey Williams, the hometown hero, was getting a great crowd reaction. What ends up happening next is that Petey Williams was going to do the Canadian Destroyer on Eli Drake, and out comes Chris Adonis putting on the Adonis lock on Petey Williams, and then out of nowhere, it seems, Johnny Impact springboard kicks him into the face, and then he sets up for the his own finishing move. Keep in mind, during this whole part of the match, Johnny Impact is the legal man. He actually ends up doing one of his finishing moves, the Starship Pain on Chris Adonis for the pinfall victory. And while they're celebrating, Alberto El Patron comes out from the crowd and starts attacking Eli Drake from behind. And he also does a DDT onto Eli Drake's Impact Global Championship. And I knew that was going to happen. They've been hyping up. It was going to come out during the middle of the match or in the evening. Now, it was a great show, nonetheless, even though I could have done with less backstage segments and more in-ring action. Again, one of the big downsides of this whole match was a couple of people no longer appear on Impact Wrestling. Don't let that, what I said right now, take away from the rest of the show. They're always going to have great talent. It's sometimes, the management that doesn't do their best part, but overall, it was a great show. I definitely like the way the company's moving in the right direction. Now, if you do agree with me, go ahead and, like I said in the beginning of the video, like this video, share this video, comment. Don't forget to click on that bell for notifications when we upload a new video. Thank you again to Big Ray Hernandez and to Bill Apter for giving me this opportunity to become the Impact Wrestling reviewer for One Wrestling. Now, I will be back with more great content. Don't forget to like One Wrestling on Twitter at One Wrestling. Don't forget to like me on Twitter at Ghetto187. Let us know what we can do to improve these great videos on YouTube. I am out. Peace.